Thank you, Marta. When sweat stops, the body's final warning. I'm happy you are here at Rotary on June 12th to help support me on a day that will forever negatively impact mine, John, and Ron's lives. Out of profound pain and desire for no other mother to live the story, as well as to honor my son, John Reed Comita's memory, I share our experience. I want my pain to have a purpose. My mission is to educate about exertional heat stroke. The story is hard to listen to and 100% the truth. If you gain nothing else from this story, please understand exertional heat stroke is real. It continues to happen, and unfortunately, it is on the rise. I want to tell you why I'm passionate about educating about the silent killer, exertional heat stroke, and how it has affected my family personally. John and I were living in Fort Worth, Texas in June 2017. 8 years ago today, while Reed was at camp and hiking and backpacking, he collapsed and was having seizures and vomiting. As a nurse, I immediately thought, is Reed suffering from heat stroke? Then we wondered why Reed was even hiking or backpacking to a remote campsite when he should not have been. It was Monday, and Reed was supposed to start his hike on Wednesday. John and I had smartly chosen a hike to start later in the week after Reed had had sufficient time to acclimate to the area temperatures, the elevation, and adjust the hydration his body would need for the hike. Reed left camp wearing clothing appropriate for a wilderness hike in the sun, hiking boots, long pants, a loose long-sleeve shirt, a wide-brimmed hat, and had applied sunscreen. Throughout the day, Reed requested a lot of water and frequent rest stops. He was sweating a lot. He complained of having a headache, muscle aches, dizziness, and feeling nauseated, all of which are signs and symptoms of heat exhaustion. Reed continued hiking. Reed's headache became worse. He stopped sweating, and his skin became red hot and dry. His nausea increased, and his pulse became strong and rapid. He was agitated, stressed, and nervous. All of these are signs and symptoms of exertional heat stroke. Reed spent the day feeling like this while carrying a 40-plus pound backpack and hiking 7 miles to an elevation above 1,000 feet. Reed's last words before collapsing onto the ground that was 120 degrees were, "I see spots." It did not take long for Reed to lapse into a coma and pass away. Reed's core body temperature was higher than the thermometer registered, surpassing 108 degrees. This cascade of catastrophic events would not have happened if heat exhaustion and exertional heat stroke had been on the forefront of camp personnel's minds. Temperature data obtained before leaving base camp had temperatures in the high 90s and a heat index over 100 degrees. If you ever feel you are not fit for or educated enough for an activity, please demand to stop and ask for the appropriate help. There are many ways to die from exertional heat stroke. Professional athletes and those in the military, the people in the best of condition, regularly fall victim to this silent killer. Think of the greater danger for those in moderate condition and undertaking outdoor or poorly ventilated jobs such as road repairmen, airline baggage handlers, train crews, landscapers, farmers, foresters, and mail delivery personnel, as well as those who dance, march in the band, or participate in other sport or outside activities. It is imperative to educate people before someone is ever put in any situation where they may die from heat stroke. Recent data from the Center for Disease Control estimates about 2,000 people have died each year between 2021 and 2023. These are very conservative numbers. The World Health Organization estimates there are approximately 350 to 500,000 people who die from heat-related deaths around the world each year. Exertional heat stroke, being the most severe, is most likely the greatest cause of death, and it's probably underestimated and underreported due to the varying definitions of heat-related deaths. It has become popular to blame heat-related events on global warming. To ignore global warming is to miss the entire picture. To blame the increase in deaths on just global warming is equally ignorant. Global warming has increased the frequency of extreme heat events, which increases the overall incidence of heat-related illness. Heat stroke has existed historically and occurred long before global warming trends. The ancient Greeks and Romans wrote about heat stroke affecting their soldiers and athletes long before carbon dioxide and industrial emissions were a hot topic. Living in areas where the heat is more contained, such as large cities, areas without trees, poor building design, lack of air conditioning all add to a potential heat crisis. It is impossible to deny the reality of climate change. Science has proven this. But the important distinction to remember is heat stroke is a multifactorial medical condition. Scenarios previously mentioned don't require record-breaking temperatures to become life-threatening. An ordinary hot day can quickly turn into a medical emergency due to human behavior, infrastructure, an individual's physical health, and even clothing choices. What is exertional heat stroke? Simply put, the body overheats and can't cool down. Excessive heat leads to failed thermal regulation. In other words, the body is no longer able to maintain its normal 98.6 by balancing the heat it generates with the heat it loses. This results in hyperthermia, the condition where the body's core temperature of 98.6 rises and stays elevated. And left untreated, this causes complete and total cell damage at the cell's core, inflammation of body tissues and coagulopathy, which in the case of heat stroke is both excessive clotting and bleeding. All of this causes permanent and multifunction organ failure. The brain, liver, kidneys, and heart shut down and cease to function. The risk factors include children and young adults, the obese, the sleep-deprived, those not physically fit for the activity they are undertaking, those not drinking enough water, high humidity and high temperatures, mainly in combination, which results in a high heat index, not enough or long enough breaks during physical activity, medications and supplements, alcohol and illegal drugs, certain illnesses and medications. How to prepare. Check the outdoor temperature and the humidity, which provide the heat index. In simple terms, how the heat feels. In addition, the wet bulb globe temperature is more accurate because it takes into consideration wind speed, sun angle, and cloud cover. Acclimate to the environment. The more time, the better, at least a 2-day minimum. Wear appropriate clothing. Monitor weight by weighing before and after an activity or practice. A weight loss greater than 2 pounds and you are not consuming enough water. Pre, during, and post hydration with every activity, and only drink water and electrolyte fortified drinks. Activities and practices should only take place in the early morning or later in the afternoon, with the duration of rest and water breaks being more frequent, lasting longer, and taking place in a shaded area. Make use of fans, misters, and air conditioning. Have a cold immersion tub filled with water readily available and big enough to submerge a person in, and ice on hand to add to the water. Observe your urine color. Clear is good. Yellow to amber means you need to consume more water. Know and review state and school rules, regulations, policies, procedures regarding practices and playing games in the heat. Signs and symptoms and first response. Heat exhaustion. Beginning of cognitive impairment. Feelings of faintness and dizziness. Excessive sweating. Cool, pale, and clammy skin. Nausea and vomiting. A rapid, weak pulse, muscle cramps. You need to get to a cooler, air-conditioned place. Drink water if fully conscious. Take a cool shower and use cold compresses to the armpits, neck, back, and groin. When these signs and symptoms are not recognized and are ignored or not acted on, heat stroke can progress very quickly. It normally takes 10 to 15 minutes to progress from having full-blown heat exhaustion to getting heat stroke. Heat stroke, delirium, hallucinations, or bizarre behavior, throbbing headache, no sweating, body temperature above 103 degrees, red hot and dry skin, nausea and vomiting, a rapid strong pulse, possible loss of consciousness, seizures, and coma. Call 911 and use a cold immersion tub if available. Do not transport the patient until the core body temperature stays below 104 when removed from the ice bath. Research has shown that taking the extra few minutes to cool the body to below 104 has kept organs from shutting down and the patient has lived. Most people who survive heat stroke have some long-term and lasting effects such as kidney damage or neurological dysfunction. I cannot reiterate enough, the number one way to avoid heat exhaustion and heat stroke is to be properly hydrated. Always carry a refillable water bottle with you and drink water before, during, and after any activity or practice. Do not skip water breaks. Make it a habit to have a glass of water with every meal and throughout the day. Every 60 minutes is a good routine to follow. Stop an activity or workout at the first sign of dehydration and demand help. Heat exhaustion and heat stroke are not 100% preventable, but close to it. This is fact. This is not debatable. None of us is safe from heat stroke unless we implement the necessary precautions into our daily lives and we prepare others by teaching and instructing them about heat stroke. In Reed's case, his death was 100% preventable. His autopsy report, the most difficult and heartbreaking thing I have ever read, indicated he had absolutely no health problems. John, Ren, and I have brought with us a cold immersion tub. We would like to give it to the Vashti community in memory of Reed. All you need is water and ice. Although it is our honor to give you this tub in memory of Reed, we hope you never need to use it. My dream is many years of outdoor activities see this cold immersion tub available but never put to use. Hopefully, kids today are educated and aware. I have a Facebook group site titled Heat Stroke Awareness, and there are other websites available with exceptional exertional heat stroke information. It is unrealistic for a cold immersion tub to be on the side of a mountain. That is why it is so important to prepare ahead of time. I've taught you what you need to know. The educational resources are at your fingertips, but we need to work both as individuals and in groups to implement safety measures to save lives. When Reed died, I got my 15 minutes of fame in ways I didn't want it, but in ways I realized could make the world a better place. I've been on the news in both Fort Worth and Thomasville. John and I appeared on The Doctor's Show. Our story was aired on Good Morning America and CBS This Morning. It was in international news agencies. I've been featured in the newspaper and my college's magazine. I've spoken to Reed's High School as well as Thomasville area high schools, private athletic organizations such as the YMCA, a Friends Biking Club, and Pebble Hill. This is not enough. It does not serve our society any purpose to avoid this topic. Exertional heat stroke related policies are currently not federally standardized, but are typically determined at the state's level. In Georgia, common best practices and guidelines used in sports and outdoor activities are found in the National Athletic Trainers Association guidelines and with the CDC. State and school district policies require calculating the wet bulb globe temperature daily, reschedule or cancel based on thresholds. Additionally, heat acclimation protocols, hydration policies, outdoor activity modifications, and emergency preparedness are required. The Georgia High School Association's heat policy mandates the wet bulb globe temp be taken 30 minutes prior to practice or a game and at regular intervals throughout the practice or game. All of this is great news for the state of Georgia. My family's world as we knew it was destroyed in a day. Reed's death was sudden and unexpected. It was needless, and it was preventable. We had to find a way to live without Reed. We did, we do, we will. For me, grief is like a red jellyfish with black, gold, and silver tentacles riding on a roller coaster with hills, valleys, and loop-de-loops. The pain is steep and the pain is deep, and the emotions twist back on ourselves whenever and wherever. Red represents my core, black is Reed's death and the loss of people in our lives. Gold are the family and friends always present. The silver are the new people in our lives. I'm healing while I protect my own heart, but make space for others. I'll always hold on to Reed, and gradually I'll hold less on to pain. John tells me grief changed him mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. He removed as many stressors in his life as possible and does his best to surround himself with positives. To quote Reynolds, grief is crying, it is quiet, it is sudden, it is anxiety. It is an all-encompassing ache. It never fully goes away. Therapists, family, friends, and my fiance are what keeps me living and doing my best to make a positive impact on the world. Excellent. Reynolds goes on to say, we are a cord of 3 strands. We lean on each other. We don't tear each other down. We remember the good that was Reed. We see Reed in rainbows, the orange sunset, and the cardinal at the bird feeder. As a family, we give at least 3 $500 scholarships for seniors who want to further their education to 2 different organizations every year. The loss of Reed is the death of 1,000 dreams. Reed lived and laughed and loved and left. You're great, so hydrate. Thank you all.